Hi, I'm Michelle, and I'm coming to you almost 1 week after Mother's Day, and that has a lot to do with what my video will be about today. 30 years ago, in 1995, I was 32 years old, and I got the most shocking news of my life, which felt like being knocked to Timbuktu by two before knocking my soul. That's the only way I can really describe it. Oh no, it's a very difficult thing to um to speak out on this because it was so horrific. And it wasn't till 30 years ago that I realized my life was nothing like I thought it was. And I had a boy and a girl, ages 6 and 11. And that's when I found out that a family member had molested them. And that started my journey in recovering my blocked past to um, recovering from my actual um, molestation um, when I was little by my father. Oh boy, it's really hard to compare myself right now to back then because I'm so much different than then. But my life was a total mess. And I reported to law enforcement what was done to my little ones. And it was horrific. My mother died 6 months later, and I was left to really handle this on my own when it had a lot to do with my mother and father. And so, yeah, it was 5 days before Mother's Day when I found out. You can read all about it in my novel that's coming out this year, Reappearing Before Her Eyes, the Isabella LeBlanc story. It's true event, it's fiction, but it's true events of my life, and it's very powerful and amazing. But I was so emotionally distraught. I don't his truly by the grace of God I made it through all that as well as my children. My son is doing the best um in regards to both of my children. He's doing the best. Um so that was Mother's Day. November, my mom dies of the heart defect that I have now, and also drug abuse. She battled drug abuse her whole life from when she was a teenager up until she was 56 years old when she died, and I'm 62 years old, and thank God I have outlived her. And yeah, I am nothing like her. I mean, now I have healed so much that it's truly hard to picture myself back then. Um, I wrote about in my first memoir about how our life, mine and Mike's and our two children, were like we were on a raft and we had camping equipment and all, and it was like we would ride the rapids just trying to survive. And yeah, we had a lot of fun and excitement in some areas of our lives, but it kept us it kept us exhausted And it was like occasionally we would find a good spot to the shore and camp out and just relax, and then we was back out there again. And that's what it felt like my whole life was until 10 years ago. But probably 3 months after my mom died, she died in November 1995. 3 months later, I couldn't handle it in my mind. It was way, way too much. Everything coming at me, it felt like, yeah, it felt like I was on a roller coaster, and it was ever going, and it would not ever stop. And I had a psychotic episode then, and I lived through that. But y'all, you got to check my book out. It's amazing. But I have recovered amazingly, and I have a good faith in God. He is with me always. Always my God is with me, and that's the best part of my life, that God is with me. And I went 20 years trying to recover from all of this, like I've said numerous times, in the traditional religion of Christianity. But it's all taught to us in a material flesh way. It's not taught to us in a mystical spiritual way, which is what God intended. That's why Jesus came to us. He was a mystic. Jesus was a mystic. He came down here and he learned everything that a lot of us are learning, and we learned from stuff that was back in Jesus's day, before and after. So it's nothing new. I don't know why they call this New Age movement, because it's not new. And so I just want to share with y'all a little more about the spiritual way that I've learned of who God and Jesus is in the Bible. And I feel like I just made a post about I. I do not believe in a eternal burning hell. God is so much more than that. He is so, so loving. Would we do that to our children? Would we subject them to a burning hell just because they couldn't get it right here on earth? Because there's so much shit in this world. And you think God's going to send us to hell just because we don't get it right? Yes, evil people will find a special place when they die, but it is not eternal hell, and God still gives them a chance to come back to Him. Always. Because that's how loving our God is. That's what God is. Nothing but pure love. And the Old Testament was written in the perspective of who God was. God never even intended for us to eat animals, much less sacrifice them for the blood of these poor animals. I mean, oh my God, animals are precious to me, and they're precious to God. He would never, never subject sacrifice of animals to cleanse all of our sins, but He allowed it. But the cool news, the good news, is that Jesus came to show us the way. He came, yes, He knew He was going to be crucified, but it was never about the blood. I can believe what I want to believe. You can believe what you want to believe. I'm speaking. I am not trying to change anybody's minds. I'm just telling you how I have healed, and I have healed from shit that a lot of people never heal from. And I am happy to be alive. 5 years ago, I wanted God to bring me home. I wanted nothing more but for God to bring me home. But I recovered in the most amazing way. So I'm going to read you a little bit about what I've learned and why I believe the way I believe. Okay, I want to read a few scriptures. John 15:10. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just like I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. John 14:23. If anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and he will come and make home with him. John 3:15. Whoever is committed to him, whoever trusts in him, will not perish but have everlasting life. This is all about inside of our bodies, y'all. It's not out here in the material words. The whole Bible is talking about inside of us. We project hell or heaven in our lives and other lives, but it's all an inside job. It has nothing to do with out here, nothing whatsoever. John 14:23. If anyone loves me if anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and he will come and make our home with him. I think I've already read that, but hey, maybe we needed to hear it again. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. God knew us before we were born. I think so many people think that this is all there is, this life on earth, that this is all there is. And y'all, we are hundreds and thousands of years old, our spirit that is inside us. Whew. I don't know about you, but I am so relieved I have learned what Jesus came down here to teach us. I've read a little bit from this book. There's a spiritual solution to every problem by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And this right here is about one page, less than a page, so it isn't long. It is fear of being divine that most often interferes with bringing spiritual engaging energies into one's life. Fear of spiritual power seems to be universal. Perhaps it is because so much energy is focused on material power. That's what I've been talking about, in the form of money, leadership, status, and prestige. In the pursuit of material power, you will find virtually all the problems that surface in your life, including disease. If you're willing to solicit the spiritual guidance, then be willing to accept and implement that help, even if it doesn't correspond exactly to your picture of what life should be like. Otherwise, you are seeking spiritual energy to help you remain the same, which means problems continue at the lower energy frequencies. Don't dismiss as implausible spiritual answers that don't correspond to the way you want your life to be structured. In order to be able to commune with the divine, you must be turned into that frequency. It's like turning on your radio and being on the right channel. A lot of us are never on the right channel. You cannot tune into an FM radio station while you have the setting on AM. Certainly the higher frequencies of FM are out there playing away, but if you're not tuned to them, you will conclude they are unavailable. You must therefore be more godlike and less materialistic in order to access and use spiritual energy to nullify and eliminate your problems. Our instructions are built and organized around the idea of facilitating, regulating, and guiding human behavior. You cannot go to schools, businesses, governments, or even churches, mosques, or synagogues to negotiate the presence of this energy. These institutions exist to deal with the material world and to keep human beings in line. They vibrate to the lower energies of the material world and often are the source of rather than the solution to your problems. I've learned that over 10 years. Okay, this is Metaphysical Interpretation of the Bible by Stephen L. Herfield. This here is less than one page too, so it isn't long. For most of us, as we mentioned previously, the limitations has been imposed by 1600 years of religious indoctrination. This type of categorization controls through fear and damnation. Should we attempt to reach for the higher levels of spirituality? If we expand reverential thoughts into the ever-present experience of divine mind, we reinforce the boundaries that contain the strength of the original attention. Hence, we protect the higher principles from being invaded by an army of lower worldly designs. We may recognize the validity of a divine mind, but we are reluctant to endorse and experience it. We need not analyze it. Instead, we should tame our physical ego, which is our flesh, into the light of knowledge, thus creating an enlightened ego. Embedded in this exercise is the realization that there is only a good God. It's only a good God, y'all. We have been so fooled by religion, for there is no other way to see it. Given due reflection as spiritual beings, would we harm or destroy our own creations? Probably not. Nor would the creative principle. It has always had the highest intention for us, including the liberty to choose our own path. And that we did, either personally or with the help of collective conditioning. We have been taught the concept of a vengeance God. That is so embedded in us. A vengeance God. Jesus came to show us God is love, not vengeance. We have been taught that we are not worthy of its goodness, God's, yet we are. Conversely, the way we view life gives us this sense of unworthiness. Isaiah uncovers the fact that we, and we alone, diminish ourselves and hold back the potential of a better life. Why is it so many people are coming out of churches in the most frustrated way, getting no connection to God? Okay, this explains everybody that kept telling me when I posted that I don't believe in eternal hell, and they kept saying, oh, you ain't reading the Bible. You need to read the Bible. How can you say that? I can say that because I have learned differently, just like millions and millions of us all around the world. Okay, this is the reason I have learned, and I can say the Bible has been manipulated. It's been translated in a wrong way, either intentionally or unintentionally. A lot of it is to get control over us. You know, when I was molested, I didn't know I had been molested. I blocked it out. It was so horrific, but I went to my pastor, and I was told by the pastor, because my parents told him I was lying, and their proof that I was lying was because I stuttered. stating I was mentally incompetent. So the preacher should just disregard anything I said. And the preacher said to me, "Little girl, you could possibly go to hell for telling these lies. God never meant for us to be scared to worship Him, to learn about Him. It ain't God." I get so frustrated, but I'm learning to let it go. Okay, this is the lost, forbidden teachings of Jesus, and this is written by Gary Light, Lite. An ancient Christian tomb was discovered in 1945 when workers in Egypt found 13 leather-bound manuscripts which revealed more information about the sect of Christians called Gnostics, meaning they teach salvation through mystical knowledge. The sect was ultimately destroyed by the Roman Orthodox Church. They wanted to have control over us. That's the way the Catholic Church is. Their followers were burned at stake and their writings were destroyed. In the year 325 AD, we lost tremendous amounts of information. The Emperor Constantine, learn that name, because that has a lot to do with the misgivings that's in the Bible, that we are tripped into being deceived by the devil, y'all. That's what I believe. Okay, the Emperor Constantine and early Christian church with the early Christian Bible made decisions on what information to include and what information to exclude. What we know now is that at least 45 books were either completely taken away or tremendously edited into what we call today our Western biblical tradition. When those edits were made, we lost the information that tells us everything is connected. We are all connected to God. We are fragments of God. The Garden of Eden is mystical. It's telling us a story in a mystical way, and it's talking about the inside of us, our masculine and feminine, which is Adam and Eve, that's inside of us. Y'all, is not talking about true, real people. With incest and having children with our family members, it creates health problems and all in our bodies. How in the hell do you think we all came from Adam and Eve? That is so prosperous, however you say that word. Okay, so one of these manuscripts contains the Gospel of Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas has been eliminated from the Bible because it represents a very different Jesus. The lost Gospel of Thomas is powerful because it is believed to be the actual words of Jesus, as he was teaching those around him how to use the power of human emotion in their lives. Our emotions are very important, y'all, yet we are taught to dismiss them. And if the indigenous people knew it, and if the ancient people knew it, then why don't we know it? I thank God I know it now. What happened to our knowledge? The Gospel according to Thomas doesn't tell a story. It's compilation of approximately 114 sayings attributed to Jesus, almost as if an audible recording of Jesus has been discovered. The opening words of the document read, "These are the secret sayings which the living Jesus spoke." Listen closely, y'all. Which Didymus Judas Thomas wrote down. Verse 1, and he said, this is Jesus speaking to us, "Whoever finds the interpretation of these sayings will not experience death." Verse 2, Jesus said, "Let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over all. We lost the information that tells us the language that speaks to this field. If we know the information was lost because we are now recovering the information in the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the Nag Hammadi library, and in the Coptic text, this is how we know this information was lost. The greatest secret of prayer is thinking from rather than thinking of. We go inside ourselves through meditation and connect to God. And God is inside of us. God is the Christ part is in all of us. All we got to do is waking up to that, and that's how you get the majestic of inviting Jesus into your heart, and how it's so real because he's already there, y'all. Verse 106, Jesus said, when you make the two one, you will become the sons of man. And when you say mountain, move away, it will move away. One possible meaning is that when you can marry your thought and your emotion in our hearts into one single potent force in our bodies, that is when you have the power to speak to the world. The Gospels according to Thomas, verse 48, Jesus said, if you make peace with each other in this one house, they will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. John 16:23-24 has been edited. The passage originally said, all things that you ask straightly and directly from inside my name, you shall be given. So far you have not done this. Ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by your answer. Be enveloped by what you desire, that your gladness be full. I believe this means to ask from the heart, not the ego, which religion tells us the flesh. And what are we supposed to live? We're supposed to live in the spirit, not in the flesh. Be enveloped by what you desire, because that is your thought and your emotion become one. You think the thought of the healing of your loved ones, and you feel the love of that thought. They become one, and that is the language that this field recognizes. Neville Goddard, the philosopher in the early 20th century, in his book, The Power of Awareness, says, you must make your future dream a present fact by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. When a martial artist breaks a wood or concrete block, they are focused on what happens after their hand passes through the block. The end result, they are able to visualize that. They know that if they think about their hand hitting the block, that it will hurt. They focus on the feeling as if the block is already broken. That is the metaphor for what we can do with the power of emotion, feeling as if the experience has already happened. The Gospel of Thomas represents our connection to consciousness and all that is. It is the knowledge that liberates man, People have tried saying this many times and nothing happens, but why? To ask, we must speak to the field in the language that the field recognizes, in the language that's meaningful, that comes from the power of the heart inside of us. The whole Bible is talking about inside of us. We can live our life as if it was hell, or we can live our life as if it was heaven. The Buddhist monasteries in Tibet tell us that feeling is the prayer, and to feel as if our prayers have already been answered. Here are some of the sayings of Jesus from the Gospel according to Thomas. Verse 3, Jesus said, if those who lead you say to you, seek the kingdom in the sky, see, the kingdom is in the sky, then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, it is in the sea, then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside of you, and it's outside of you. When you come to know yourself, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. But if you will not know yourself, you dwell in poverty, and it is you who are that poverty. Verse 5, and Jesus said, recognize what is in your sight, and that which is hidden from you will become plain to you, for there is nothing hidden which will not manifest. Verse 6, his disciples questioned him and said to him, do you want us to fast? How shall we pray? Shall we give alms? What diet shall we observe? Jesus said, do not tell lies, and do not do what you hate, for all things are plain in the sight of heaven. For nothing hidden will not become manifest, and nothing covered will remain without being uncovered. Verse 7, Jesus said, blessed is the lion which becomes man when consumed by man, and cursed is the man whom the lion consumes, and the lion becomes man. It's mystical, y'all. Verse 18, the disciples said to Jesus, tell us how our end will be. Jesus said, have you discovered then the beginning, that you look for the end? For where the beginning is, there will the end be. Blessed is he who will take his place in the beginning. He will know the end and will not experience death. Jesus said, love your brother like your soul. Guard him from the pupil of your eye. If you do not, verse 27, if you do not fast from the world, you will not find the Father's domain. Verse 50, Jesus said, if they say to you, where did you come from? Say to them, we came from the light, the place where the light came into being on its own accord and established itself and became manifest through their image. God is light. If they say to you, is it you? Say, we are its children. We are the elect of the living Father. If they ask you, what is the sign of your Father in you? You say to them, it is movement and repose. Verse 77, Jesus said, it is I who am the light which is above them all. It is I who am the all. From me did the all come forth, and unto me did the all extend. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. Verse 113, his disciples said to him, when will the kingdom come? Jesus said, it will not come by waiting for it. It will not be a matter of saying it is here it is, or there it is. Rather, the kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth, and men do not see it. Before the discovery of Gnostic writings, our only knowledge of it came from a letter written by Church Father Clement of Alexandria, 150 AD to 211 AD, which quotes this secret gospel and refers to it as a more spiritual gospel for the use of those who are being perfective. He said, it even yet is most careful guarded by the church at Alexandria, being read only to those who are being initiated into the great mysteries. Clement insists elsewhere that Jesus revealed a secret teaching to those who were capable of receiving it and being molded by it. Clement indicates that he possessed the secret tradition which was handed down through the apostles. All people have drunk the water of forgetfulness. When we come into this world, all of our knowledge of God dissipates and we forget. And the reason God sends us down here is to strengthen our spirit inside of us to become closer to God, because we fell short of God through wanting to do it our own way. But we have to surrender ourselves to God. That's the salvation, y'all. not the ritual of blood. I'm sorry, but Satan is all about blood sacrifices. That's the God honest truth. Okay, John asked Jesus, what will happen to those who do not attain salvation? They are hurled down into forgetfulness and thrown into prison. The Gnostics' code word for new body. The only way for these souls to escape, says Jesus, is to emerge from forgetfulness and acquire knowledge. That's what so many of us are doing, and we're living the most amazing, triumphant life. The only way for these souls to escape, says Jesus, is to. Oh, wait, I just read that. This soul needs to follow another soul in whom the Spirit of life dwells, because she is saved through the Spirit. Then she will never be thrust into flesh again. The secret book of John. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. I love that verse. To unleash the force of the divine matrix in our lives, first we have to understand how it works, and the science tells us how it works. Secondly, we must speak the language that the divine matrix recognizes, and science cannot tell us that. That comes from our past, from our culture, from our history, from those who have learned and used this language for thousands of years. What did Jesus and the great master say about this language? Because it's the same whether you're talking about Buddhist or Hindu or pre-Christian traditions. They are all telling us that there is a field of energy and that we have the language to use that field. No, we speak of God's secret wisdom, a wisdom that has been hidden and that God destined for our glory before time began. Corinthians 2:7. So I hope that what I just read will explain why I can say I do not believe in a burning hell, because God loves us too much. I would never wish that on my children just because they can't get a grasp on how to live this world. We come down here many times, y'all. I know so many of y'all don't want to even perceive that because it's so hard to live here on earth. And this is a school. Our purpose is to be born, and we forget everything and tend to awaken up to who we are inside of us with God who is inside of us. That is the whole purpose. I love this rhyme because it speaks so much more to me now because of what I've learned. The rhyme of, I'm not going to sing it because y'all would cut this video right off if I tried to sing, but it's merrily row your boat. Oh shit, hold on, my mind just went blank. Merrily row your boat. I can't, there's a section I can't remember, but the cool thing is that in the end it says life is but a dream. Our whole life, y'all, is a dream. It's a daydream, and then at night we night dream. And then when our bodies die, we instantly remember and go to wherever we have progressed to in this world. And so many people are going to be so deprivated when they pass from here to the spiritual world because they didn't learn how to get their hearts right with God, how to live the way Jesus taught us to live. We are bombarded more about sin than we are about how Jesus taught us to live. So, yeah, the one thing about being sexually touched in the wrong places as a little one when I was little is that it produces when we get older. And like when I was a teenager, I was very promiscuous. I have no shame of that. Y'all, if you've had that issue, have no shame in that. But just know, if you connect to God, you can break away from that on your own. You don't need somebody to tell you you're not going to be, you're not going to get to heaven because you're promiscuous. They tell us all that all the time. And it's bullshit. So it's just my passion that everybody can recover from what they have lived through in this earth, this time and other times before that. I believe in evolution. I believe all of us are fragments of God and we're all connected in this energy. And even the most horrific person, if you come to realize that, and that we're all just going through a dream and just living out our desires, our senses of touch, hear, taste, feel, that's what drives us and messes us up and live in the spiritual way that God intended for us to live. And that's when we get messed up and we live an evil life. And God gives us so many chances. I hope you got something out of this. And if you hear this on YouTube and it registered with you, you liked it, please subscribe to my channel and give me a like. I will truly appreciate it. Thank you.